Time now for First Alert Weather with meteorologist Rob Nucatola.
Well, good morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Nice to feel a little different out there this morning. If you haven't been outside just yet or got out from under the covers, it's a little cooler to get started this morning. We're not talking frosty chills just yet, but numbers way back down in the 60s. Going to feel a little different out there. Going to make it feel maybe a little bit more like early October. Top temperatures are still going to warm up. It got a little toasty yesterday afternoon. We saw 85, 86, 87, 88 in spots. We're going to see something similar again today. So still warm in the afternoon hours, and I do not think it's going to be as cool tomorrow morning. So this is probably the cooler one right now. And then once we get past Milton, now we'll start talking about more cooler mornings coming, maybe quite a bit cooler coming. Now, this is what we have on the satellite radar composite screen. You can see some of those stubborn clouds, parts of southern Taylor County, southern Lafayette and southern Suwannee counties, and over towards I-75. That's where the cloud cover and that tropical moisture just lingering. For a lot of us, we're going to get through the morning with clear skies, sunshine, a little breeze out of the northeast. And numbers like this one in Thomasville, 63, or in Valdosta, we're at 64. Even at the Tallahassee airport, they did get down to 64, now back up to 67. So we're experiencing a little bit more of a early fall feel, finally. Quincy's at 63 this morning. Bainbridge and Mariana, 65s. It's 67 in Perry. So around the region, we got a lot of numbers between 63 and 67, which is actually about where temperatures are supposed to be here in the second week of October. If there's a breeze, and there will be today, it'll be more from the north and northeast. I don't expect a whole lot of fog. Some of our eastern areas can get some. That's where that tropical moisture is being sort of pushed off to. So areas like Live Oak, even Valdosta, our visibility is down below 2.5 miles. Now you get all those shaded counties up and down the Florida Peninsula for all the tropical storm and hurricane concerns. And we're going to start to change some of those watches to warnings now that we're inside 36 hours from Milton getting close enough to really start delivering some of those impacts. That boundary to its north and to our south is still there, but it will fizzle, and higher pressure is going to start to take over, and eventually that's what's going to continue to bring in more of this fall-like feel for us once Milton gets across the peninsula and out into the Atlantic and accelerates away. Here's the futurecast. It gets us from today till this afternoon, this evening, and I do think we start to bring some of the clouds back. We bring a lot more back tomorrow. We're going to expect the clouds to increase. I would expect to find a few of those outer bands to bring us some showers, especially to our far southern areas and our far southeastern areas by tomorrow evening. Then as we go through tomorrow night and into Thursday, that's when the storm itself moves across the Florida Peninsula. That's when the biggest impacts will be felt well to our south. But some of our southern and southeasternmost areas can get some of those minor impacts. And then we start talking about the clearing up and the drying out and the really nice weather that's coming back Friday and beyond. It's going to feel like October once we get then. The 5 o'clock information is in with Hurricane Milton. Winds at 155 miles per hour. So that's still a really strong Category 4, almost Category 5. Likely going to see it fluctuate in intensity a little bit more on that in just a couple of seconds. The motion is now east-northeast at 12. You can see that black line, how it's been wobbling around a little bit, but getting above that line of latitude. So what that tells us is starting to make that turn a little bit more north. Spent a lot of the day yesterday moving south of east, now starting to move a little bit north of east. It should continue to do that, and it should pick up forward speed. Now it's going to run into some of that drier air and some of that shear. As a matter of fact, that should start later today. So while it may get stronger again this morning, it will likely start to get weaker tonight and throughout the day tomorrow. How much weaker is important because it's going to start pushing that water up. We're going to start bringing the wind and the rain to a big chunk of central Florida. Still feels like we're talking areas from like Marco Island, maybe up to the mouth of the Suwannee River or Cedar Key. That's where the cone is currently. Close enough to our area to keep some eyebrows raised, and close enough to some of our coastal areas where we've got to expect late Wednesday, early Thursday, some rain, some wind, and some surge. Nothing like we dealt with Helene, but we've got a lot of areas so much in the recovery that it won't take much to cause more issues, especially with saturated soils and weakened tree limbs and brand new power stuff, that can cause some issues. So we'll be watching for all of that. But the big impacts feel like they're going to be around those big cities near Tampa. We'll be able to shrink this cone a little bit more over the next 24 hours. As it moves across the peninsula, it's likely going to hang on to hurricane status and then get out into the Atlantic and move away. So this is going to be a quick mover, but it's likely going to be a very busy 24 to 36 hour period starting later in the day tomorrow and lasting through much of Thursday as it moves across the Florida Peninsula and then gets away. The tropical watches and warnings now upgraded to tropical storm warnings for our coastal areas and even for some of our inland spots in Taylor, Lafayette, and Suwannee counties. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be just like it was with Helene. It's not. But it means we could get a couple of stronger winds. We could get a couple of inches worth of rain in some of these areas, especially if the storm wobbles a little bit more to the north. So we've got things we're keeping our eyes on. Please keep checking in with us. I will have updates for you. Now, let's talk about what we're seeing here on the satellite imagery. You can really see that eye for a while, and then it looks like the eye's kind of going away. That's that eye wall replacement cycle. We're likely going to see that eye pop back out pretty soon and look really strong again. And the storm itself may get a little stronger again while all that's happening. It's just one of the things that very strong hurricanes do is they sort of reinvent their eye and their core, and they get a little bit weaker as that's happening, and then they get a little bit stronger once it happens. And then we start to talk about some of that drier air and some of that shear that's ahead of it. That's what will actually weaken the storm, and that hopefully starts happening soon and is able to do a good job of weakening it. One of the flip sides of that, of course, is it will start to spread out the storm a little bit. So we're going to see the storm grow in size over the next 24 hours too. So a lot of transition is going to happen with Milton. I promise we'll have updates for you. A lot of the major impacts will be well to our south, but they're still a little close to some of our southern areas, so we're watching really carefully. Breezy on the Gulf today, winds out of the northeast 12 to 24. It's going to get a whole lot more breezy over the next 24 hours, so not boating weather at all. 60s, 70s will go with cooler this morning. There's a bunch of mid-60s. Love it. I think we're going to have even cooler when we get to that long-range forecast in a second. It'll still be warm this afternoon, though, mid-80s. The clouds start coming back tonight and tomorrow. That means it's not going to be as cool tomorrow, but I still think a lot of us fall into the 60s. Now, the rain chances increase a bunch tomorrow night and throughout Thursday, and then by Thursday night, they're gone. And look what happens as we hit to Friday and the weekend. The 50s start to come back to the area for morning temperatures. We may have some highs, even with sunshine, that struggle to get into the low 80s. That's the fall kind of weather we're looking for. Just got to get past Milton first, and I think the most impacts from Milton will be late Wednesday and early Thursday. Some of our southern and eastern areas will get some wind and some rain. We'll be able to fine-tune that more later today and tomorrow, so please keep checking in.